we're at the end of another summer.
Yeah.
And unlike nearly everybody who seems to come before the courts in Spain, John Gilligan is staying in prison.
Yeah.
We've had so many people that have been arrested in Spain, these high-profile arrests, and then within days they seem to be back on the streets and free to come and go. But John Gilligan just can't seem to make bail.
No. And do you know what? Over the summer when I was off there, somebody sent me a copy of a text that was going around. It was on one of these sort of WhatsApp groups and it was being sent around to people.
Yeah.
And it was a begging bowl text.
Yeah.
So he continues, he's still in custody. So the last time we were, writing about this, it was that his former partner, Sharon Oliver, had been going around with this begging bowl to raise funds for him, despite the fact that he had sort of replaced her on the Costa Blanca with a younger woman. And he'd also sort of trashed her house when he was living it. Now, Oliver was caught up in the previous drug bust involving Gilligan that landed him before the courts.
She was ultimately
cleared, and she never, and he was given a fine, wasn't he? He wasn't.
He got his
custody, got out. He was always very well able to get himself around the Spanish legal system, and never really have a huge amount of difficulties, even when he was caught with various items, including these prescription pills, weren't they? And he was posting them back to the UK or whatever, and she was caught up in it. But she apparently was really cross with him because she didn't want him getting involved in cocaine in particular. And she had sort of said that she was going back to the UK and he could stay in her house, but they were over until he gave her some promises that he would,
clean up his
ways and, stop dealing with the cocaine, because he was working almost like as a street dealer. Like he was really taking anything he could get. Now, Gilligan is 73 years of age. So this is all in recent years. Like he's on the pension and he's still at this, trying to make enough money to fund a lifestyle. But he's no home. He's out there living with this ex-partner in her house, Sharon Oliver. And of course, in January of earlier this year, the police in Spain busted in and they arrested him, along with seizures involving a lot of pink cocaine, this sort of party drug. And there was others arrested with him. And he was placed into custody, as happens in Spain, while a magistrate investigates what the police already know. You mightn't even be charged, but you could be in jail for 4 years waiting to see, are you going to be charged, if you're going to face trial. Of course, most people that are arrested in these circumstances in Spain have a nest egg somewhere that they can produce and get themselves a lawyer and get themselves bail. But Gilligan hasn't a penny left. Anyway, Oliver was going around trying to collect money or attempting to, and then she seems to have, they fell out. Either she discovered that there was another younger woman that had taken her place, or she didn't get very far.
No. So, I mean, it was a huge amount of pink cocaine being a kind of a mixture of synthetic substances and no actual cocaine involved. But the estimate the Spanish police put on the seizure and the operation was in the millions. However, there was also some of John Gilligan's handwritten notes involving the drugs business were ultimately leaked to the papers over there, and it showed him offering deals of 200-300 euros to people. So while the figure of millions is there and is put forward by the Spanish police, it doesn't look like John Gilligan has put away a nest egg, as you said, because these begging texts are going around.
Yes, they were going around earlier in the summer now, as I said, when we were off. So this text was going around saying that, Gilligan is in prison and he's broke and he helped lots of people out during his life and now he needs money. And the texts go on to say that, no amount is too small. So in other words, anything from a fiver or, upwards. And, people who sent that were asked to share it onto their WhatsApp group and, to spread it far and wide so as people can give John a donation. And it's to the lawyer's bank account. See, my understanding is that Gilligan had a lawyer for the previous case and I have a feeling that he didn't pay the lawyer. Yeah. So any lawyer is not going to be willing to represent somebody when they're already owed money. So the text suggests that the money is to go to the lawyer's bank account, which I'm sure the lawyer isn't privy to at all, and operates a proper business and pays taxes and all the rest of it. So that was going around over the summer in an effort to spread the word that Gilligan desperately needs out of jail. Now, he's in that Fort Callant prison.
So he's relying on his good deeds, a lifetime of good deeds to get him out, which I suppose is not something that...
I never remember him being kind of known as being overly generous.
No, and in fairness, some of the gangland criminals can have that reputation where they have this kind of, they may be linked to devious actions and violent crimes, but they can have this reputation for being really helpful to some people and really looking after people. I mean, both Jerry Hutch and Daniel Kinahan would both have had that reputation at times. Daniel Kinahan certainly could be really generous and all of that if he decided to be in that case. And of course, Jerry Hutch had that reputation as well, that he would step in and help people. But of all of the things that we've heard about John Gilligan, I've never heard that about him.
No. And if you remember back in 2013, I'm going to say, was it? When Gilligan was initially released from prison in relation to the charges, the conviction he had for drug dealing, he was put on trial for the murder of Veronica Guerin, but he was actually ultimately convicted in relation to cannabis and got a massively long sentence, which he said he spent in Portlaoise jail. But he was released in a kind of blaze of publicity. And at the time, we had been informed that a representative of Gilligan's had been out with the begging bowl at that stage so he could get back on his feet.
Yeah.
And myself and Mick McCaffrey, formerly of this stable, went our separate ways. McCaffrey went out looking for John Traynor, who he discovered to be in the UK. And I went up to a former associate of the Monk, a guy called Noel King-Size Duggan. And I knocked on his door because I had heard that he had been asked for some money by this individual and that he had sent him on his way. Under no uncertain terms, he was not giving money, So this is one of these rumours you hear kind of in the underworld floating around it or whatever. So I called to Duggan's door at the time and I asked him about it. And he confirmed completely that he had indeed been asked for money for Gilligan, but that there was no way he was ever given a red cent to him because basically a lot of, members of the criminal underworld didn't like Gilligan's decision to murder Veronica Guerin. And really, I suppose they didn't like what happened next to their own businesses and the kind of the crackdown by the state and the Criminal Assets Bureau. Actually, Hutch and Duggan were some of the first people and major targets of the Criminal Assets Bureau set up after her murder. So Gilligan has this kind of history, this MO to send around this begging bowl, come on lads, as if they're part of a club.
Yeah.
Give me a few bob, I'll set myself up again and then I'll pay you back. And of course, going back further with Gilligan, he really made he got his look when the general, Martin Cahill, had invested in his first load of cannabis that he brought into the country, and Cahill died before he could collect his investment, and Gilligan ended up making a fortune. Yeah,
now, of course, John Gilligan has publicly denied that he had anything to do with the murder of Martin Cahill, but that was always put out by some people. Obviously, the IRA claimed responsibility for Cahill's murder, but it was always said by some that Gilligan had at least, set him up. But he strongly denied that. But yeah, so it's a funny position for John Gilligan to be in as a 73-year-old. The quantity of drugs that the Spanish police are talking about is enough that it would look very differently than his previous court case, it has to be said, and he would be in a lot more legal danger of spending, a large part of the rest of his natural life behind bars.
I think for all of us, there's a lesson here. Do you not?
What's that?
Pay your bills. Pay your lawyer.
or else do some good deeds in case you need your...
Pay your bloody lawyer. You'll need them again, and especially when you're in trouble. So,
and in our case, since you won't be able to rely on your good deeds to get a lot of funds off public.
Well, look, let's try and find out exactly what's happening with this case against Gilligan and if he's due back up in the courts in the near future. Alicante is a place we've been talking about a lot, and there was a lot of activity around there in the January. Of course, we had the murder of John George from Belfast, who got caught up in some sort of again, a kind of a lowbrow drug dealing operation. He was shot dead. His family had to travel out to Spain in order to locate his body. The Spanish have arrested, certainly.
There was a man arrested and he is currently in custody in Spain again because charges aren't brought.
Yeah, so quickly.
Clearly a person of interest there.
Yeah. But all that was going on in the very same small area of Alicante, where there is a lot of, I mean, even this week we have other information from that area about certain criminals gathering for occasions, and it's like the sort of, of course, criminals hang out together in the same areas because it's easier to do their business, isn't it? And they make friends. They are friends.
They do.
Tony Armstrong is a long-term associate and friend of John Gilligan's, who has fallen on hard times himself in recent years because, I mean, I do know that he was certainly rumoured to have been squatting out there because he wasn't able to afford his own property. They're all getting older, aren't they?
They are.
I mean, a 73-year-old John Gilligan, how's he going to get on in prison? Who's he going to intimidate? How is he going to, pull back any power? Has he got anybody there still supporting him?
Well, it's hard to say. I mean, if you're looking at whatever amount of money that he's looking to raise, he's not looking to raise hundreds of thousands. He's looking to raise possibly tens of thousands. So I suppose that shows you. If you can't raise that,
maybe all your favours have run out.
I think so.
Yeah. Okay, Niall.
Thanks, Nicola.
I'm Nicola Tallant, and you're watching Crime World, a podcast about criminals, drugs, and the underworld in Ireland and across the globe. Make sure you subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications so you can be the first to watch all our latest episodes. You can also listen wherever you get your podcasts.